Hi everyone, it's Matthew McKenzie here. I'd probably state that I'm more of a carers advocate, carers champion, raise awareness of unpaid carers. And today, I'll be talking about the reasons why unpaid carers should connect with other carers. This is lectures usually aimed at, oddly enough, other carers, to be honest, especially if you're starting your role caring for someone with long-term illness. And as a reminder, I tend to raise awareness of all unpaid carers. I do focus a lot on those caring for someone living with mental illness or living with forms of cancer. So it'll be a short lecture today. The reason I'm talking about connecting with other carers, it's really obvious. That's why it's a short lecture. It's learning from each other and developing a stronger identity. So what I'm going to be looking into really is just five things. And these will be, let's go to the first. Emotional support is the first thing I suggest, the reasons why carers need to connect with each other. And this leads to a form of shared understanding. It's more than that, obviously. Other things would be to emphasize the unique challenges that carers face. And they are unique. Not all going to be the same, obviously. That's why I mentioned unique. But with those challenges, when you're caring for someone for long-term ill health, it will impact on yourself physically and emotionally, depending on your caring role. So if you connect with other carers, and there are several ways to do this. Apologies for not mentioning that first. First thing would be at events that are run by those who are providing services for those who have long-term ill health. And you might meet other unpaid carers there. So it's the prime way to meet other carers in a safe environment would be your local carer centre. Each borough or area in the UK usually has one. And you're not always restricted to your local one. Some of them do take on other carers who are outside that borough. I've known quite a few. Some of them have cafes and carers come along to reduce isolation. But for what you see here, if you do register at your local care centre, um, and they run a care support group or peer group, then you're more likely to meet other carers who might be caring in a similar role to yourself. And if that's the case, then you're more likely will meet other carers that can offer a form of solidarity from their shared lived experiences. This is not always going to be an easy plain sailing thing. And I think it takes someone who's been a veteran carer for some time to emphasize with other carers. When you're starting out on your role, you're more likely going to be quite needy, and that's understandable. And if you've got a group of carers who are new to their role, then they're not going to be often looking to always share things because they're trying to learn from others. And I think the very baseline of it is we're still all different people. So some people, even though they might have the identity of carers, might not fully understand um, the reasons to share and emphasize. And remember, we all people at the end of the day. And this is, what I'm going to say is going to be quite controversial. People are different. Just because they have the label of carers doesn't mean they straight away are going to be understanding and caring. I still think there's a few out there that will have the mindset to take it upon themselves to connect with other carers. It's not an easy thing to do. And when you're needy, you tend to want to unload a lot, and it takes a while before you can learn to support others. But as it stands, um, if you end up at a care support group, or an online forum maybe, then it helps with providing a form of emotional support. But do be wary. You have to be choosy on how you gain that sort of emotional support. And one last thing I want to mention is not to overload on fellow carers. I don't think that's the best way to go about it. I've experienced, some carers who view peer support as only receiving, if you know what I mean, or um, if you're in a group where they would literally take over the group and talk about their own issues, ignoring others. However, if the groups run well and those there understand about emotional support, then the benefits outweigh the negatives. Continuing on, um, the key thing here is to reduce isolation. The carer's role, as you might know, is if you're caring for someone who's going through long-term illness, whether it's physical or mental, you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. You might often be at home with them, and because of that, you're not often able to go out. And even if you do go out, you feel like you're not really understood. You feel like you're isolated and lonely in your role. So connecting with others in similar roles actually can combat loneliness and isolation. It provides a sense of identity, a sense of comfort, where it's reminding that you're not alone as a carer. The last thing, and there's more, but I'm just making it fairly brief. It's a safe space to vent. It depends, though. It depends on the group and what you're venting about. And if you're attending a care center and they have a particular groups where you can vent, and it allows a judgment-free zone to express, your frustrations or fears openly without fear of judgment, or misunderstanding, because those at that group or with other carers, um, are more likely to able to understand your experiences. This isn't 100% though. It's not like I'm not trying to sell it. Usually with care centers, they have strict um, sort of instructions really at start of groups for other carers not to judge other carers. As I've mentioned before, when it comes to emotional support, we are in our most vulnerable. And again, I've known carers to be really judgmental of other carers who are experiencing difficulties in their caring journey. So again, it's not 100% safe spaces. And if you're venting, it depends what you're venting about. And I've known carers to vent at me when I facilitate and at other staff about them. And that's not a really good thing. It's not a safe space. So yeah, if you do end up in a chaos group, that's great. You can vent. Don't swear and cuss and fuss in that sort of ways. So there's ways of doing it. I'll probably do a lecture on that. The other thing, I do have a lot of WhatsApp group, and that's not a safe space to vent as well, to be honest. And I feel a lot more easier than trying to vent at a group. There are ways to do this. But going on, those things anyway are one of the key things regarding emotional support and the reasons to connect with other carers. I still say most of the times it's a good thing to connect with others and not isolate yourself. Although it's understandable if you've had bad experiences at a carers group. Not all groups are the same, unfortunately. So continuing on, the next thing I would say carers need to connect with other carers is down to practical advice and problem solving. And the key thing is really you're learning from others. I mean, it's okay to attend, other groups and often not say a word because you're sort of listening to what other carers are saying. Obviously, there'll come a time when you're speaking about your caring experience But as it stands, if you're learning from others, then obviously you're not going to be talking most of the time. You're going to be listening. And when you're listening, it gives Kels a chance to share tips on that healthcare journey, on medication, on behaviors of the person that they're caring for, accessing resources, what's happening around the area regarding events, engagement events, consultations, feedback. So it makes sense that if you're connecting with other carers, they're going to know more, or and some might know more, or even you might know a few things you want to share with others. That group might appreciate learning from yourself, or you attending to learn from others. So it's a practical advice and a way of problem solving as well. There's also exchange of information. Obviously, you're not compelled to share information, but other carers might be in the know. The reason being they may be involved in service provision. So obviously would want to share information on how you can be supported in your caring role. And the carers might provide advice on legal rights because they've cared for a longer length of time, navigating the health and social care system, and even financial support that they might have found useful in their caring role. A key thing, though, is whatever advice and information they're giving, most will probably try and find a way not to say that you're caring in a wrong way. Um, I would often advise when it comes to giving information, we don't judge carers who are new to that role. We exchange it in a way that is is a sort of helpful, healing, non-judgmental way. And that again, as you can see from my picture, that's one of the reasons of attending or connecting or attending a carers group or connecting with other carers. And again, a lot of them will more likely be your care center that will run these specific type of groups, or even a health provider might actually run a carers group that you can also attend. The third thing is access to resources and support services. So carers who maybe in another mentioned they might be involved at service provision at the local NHS trust, or you may be providing information resources like an online forum or WhatsApp group or support group. You can benefit from accessing that pool of knowledge, whether it be from the charity, and I name a few, the national ones being Carers Trust, Carers UK have online forums you can take note of, online groups, a great way to connect with other carers, and they can provide information again on these online resources. These connections can help you discover new forms of assistance that might lighten your your load when you're caring for someone going through long-term illness. Also, through the network of fellow carers, unpaid carers, you can become aware of programs designed specifically for carers. A good example is, and I'm looking at mental health trusts and NHS trusts, may have actually recovery colleges that are designed to help you support your loved one or learn about your role. Um, and these are specific regarding your caring experiences. It's not just NHS recovery colleges, care centres actually have these things like workshops as well, care wellbeing initiatives and respite care opportunities that might be launched by the local authority. So there will be forms of care support programs, definitely register at your local care centre to learn out more about these things or inquire at your local NHS trust if they have these specific support programs. The other thing is improved well-being. So I'm coming up to the last two. So mutual support for self-care. Fellow carers can, they go through stress. So I've gone through stress, anxiety. Best way really, and I still stand by this, is, how can other carers who've gone through that journey learn how to manage stress exhaustion, anxiety, anger, depression. Yes, you can ask a psychologist, psychiatrist, and yes, they probably would know a whole lot more about it. The only problem, though, is have they been through that caring journey? And it's not just that. The reason for the mutual support is to develop more of a connection with other carers. When someone's sharing these things, it helps in connecting with others. It's not down to carers have no experience of these things. When you say, and I am actually also supportive of carers getting forms of psychological therapy and going for that. That's fine. But there should be ways of connecting with other carers as well to share your knowledge, experience, lived experience as well. So yeah, we're not obviously going to be going for the same caring journey. Some carers have thick skin and may never experience any of these things. But I will stand firmly to say that most carers do not have that thick skin, and there's always something out there in life that will shock you, depress you, anger you. So it helps to also learn from others. And again, it might not work, it might work, but it doesn't hurt to have extra tools in that toolbox. Having that thick skin isn't enough, I think. It doesn't hurt to have other things as well. So sharing tips in managing stress, exhaustion, health for resilience, I think is vital if you're caring for someone with long-term ill health. The sad thing to say, unfortunately, is I do think a lot of carers tend to still focus heavily on how their loved one is managing their well-being. We we shouldn't forget ourselves as carers to not develop resilience. The forms of building resilience is another lecture for another day, unfortunately. And I think it's going to be an ongoing issue where carers will say that they feel better if their loved one feels better. And I sort of disagree slightly. I think do focus on your own well-being. There's nothing wrong in doing that. Feeling understood and valued. So connecting with others reduces forms of guilt and burnout. There is a lot of things regarding care guilt, care stigma, especially when you observe your loved one going through long-term ill health. You're wondering, you know, they're suffering and you're not, and you feel guilty, or you've not done something right in that caring role. Something's not turned out quite well, and your loved one is suffering more from it, and you feel guilty that you've not done something right, and you throw yourself at the caring role even more because of it, which can lead to burnout. So obviously, when you can with other carers, they can offer forms of reassurance and confidence in your role. Basically, what I'm saying is we all make mistakes. No one is perfect. We don't know it all. If we did, there's no reason to connect with other people, other carers. There's no shame in saying that I've made a mistake. I've got to try and learn from others. However, it's got to be a supportive, safe environment. And this is not an easy thing to do. But if the environment is supported and safe, then you have a high chance of feeling understood and valued in your caring role. As it stands, it's difficult for carers to feel valued in their role, but many are trying to raise more awareness and say to society carers should be valued. The last one is on the advocacy and collective action, perhaps the most challenging of all when it comes to connecting with carers. A lot of carers are not sure of how systems, legal or through service provision, can often work. But what we do know in care groups is if there's a recurring theme, recurring issue, then advocacy starts to develop organically. So basically, it's stronger voices together. There are carers that can singly advocate for themselves and don't need no help. That's fine. But if you're in you're new to your care role and you experience challenge after challenge and you feel that you're becoming weaker from that, it doesn't hurt to join forces with other carers that can help regarding advocacy, especially if you're not getting any support regarding services and policies out there. So it's, the baseline for this is carers when they group together and connect together, the voices are stronger together. And lastly, is helping, as I put there in the picture, there's carers that has been through that maze, still going through that maze and learning how that maze works, hence navigating systems. So carers, and it does depend upon the person. I don't think that's because someone has a label of carer that they're automatically a caring person. I don't think that's quite right. If the person is of that character where they share strategies for dealing with professionals and securing support, then it helps you as a carer to navigate those systems, and it gives you confidence to navigate the system through advocacy. So to sum this all up, um, connecting with other unpaid care provides emotional support, practical advice, and improves well-being. It does depend if the environment is safe, a safe space, and those there have the attitude to help provide that emotional support. I don't think this is an automatic thing. Rules and regulations can help, but it does depend upon the person as well. Not everyone has the same agenda, sadly. But for most of the time, connecting with carers does allow for a chance of that emotional support, practical advice, and improves well-being. Local support groups, especially from your local care centre, where it's online groups as well, online forums, advocacy networks, can allow the focus of sharing resources and offer that valuable connections, not just on a one-off situation. It can be an ongoing thing, even perhaps for life. If the group is strong, carers can gain a stronger voice for advocacy, feel less isolated. And when you're in a group and they have sort of the same mindset, then it helps to navigate those caregiving challenges for better supports, health support, and better policies. And also, lastly, these connections can foster a form of community, basically a caring community with mutual understanding and developing resilience. These are good things for the community. Notice I didn't say caring community, it's community as a whole. It only take everyone's gonna either care for someone or be cared for themselves. So this is a community effort, and it's essential for that caregiving journey that we build a great foundation where the community helps to support each other. It is not automatic. It takes time to develop, but this is a great aim to work for. And I'd say thanks for watching my lecture. I know I've been a bit dismissive on a few things, my experiences, to be honest, but I know in the long run, connecting with carers is should be a beneficial thing for anyone new to the caring role.